No.
Hello, this is Sophie Lawson from sophielawson.com, and this is episode 113 of the Sophie Art Podcast, which is a little podcast that I do about the art and things. And this is an About The Tings episode, which means we can talk about anything. And lilDENNIS is with us, the co-host, and he's had a bit of an adventure this week because he was out in nature. He's enjoying the trees, the birds, and the sunshine. Yeah, I think he had a fun time. So this week's little episode, I haven't really got a main topic. I've got 3 little things to talk about. I'm going to talk about anxiety, a recent lucid dream, and the power of nature. And that's basically it. There's not many notes for this one, but lilDENNIS is going to jump right into it, I think. Bing! So you put lilDENNIS in his little house, because he likes sitting in his little house. He's nice and comfy in there, I think. But if you want to see this podcast as a video, you can see it on youtube.com/Sophie Lawson. And I'm also still working on the website, but it's not as much as I have been. And I'm currently working on the About section, which I think will be quite fun when it's finished, but it's going to take quite a while, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little timeline showing Kevin turning into Sophie with little photos. So you have a little photo of me as a baby, at school, all these little photos from my life until the present day, which I think will be quite nice. And lilDENNIS is going to be on there as well, which I'm quite excited about. But that's basically that for the website. So I think I'll start by talking about a recent lucid dream. It's only a little one, but it's very weird. And if you know what this would possibly mean, can you sort of let me know? Because I can't work out what this would mean. So I was in this dream, and I was in my bedroom. It was another false awakening where I woke up. I thought I was awake, but I was actually still asleep. And then I went into another dream. This lady was very happy. She was doing a presentation. She was so happy. It was unnaturally happy. And I said, why is she so happy? And then I realised, I said, this must be a dream, because she was so over the top happy. So I became lucid. And then what happened was, it sort of kept going from all these different dreams, and then I could hear my dad talking in the background. Well, I could hear my dad talking, but I couldn't see nothing. It was darkness. And then what happened was, I started going through the floorboards. I walked out of the room where my dad was, and I started going through the floorboards, and I said, yeah, I'm definitely dreaming, because I was going through the floorboards, I knew I was dreaming. But as I went through the floorboards, it went completely black. Because what it was before was, it was about 10% vision. You could see stuff, but you couldn't really see anything. But now you couldn't see anything as you went through the floorboards. But what happened was, my dad's voice, it started getting softer and softer, as if he was drifting into the distance, until finally, as I'd gone right through the floorboards, my dad disappeared. Now I look at that and I think, is that... Because I recently contacted my dad, because I haven't spoken to my dad for about 4 years or something, because he's being a bit horrible about my being transgender, so I needed to separate myself. It's quite weird when you start talking about personal things. The voice starts playing up. That must be something. But so what happened was, I tried to contact my dad, and I realised it wasn't going to be happening. So maybe that dream is saying it's time to properly separate yourself from your dad. I don't know, but it was very telling, that one. But as I went through the floorboards, this lovely female voice, which I've heard before, it's like it's angelic. Yeah, it's like a sort of a beautiful female voice, and it was echoing through the dream, and it just said steady. It was very reassuring. It just said steady, as if steady yourself. So I stayed there. I didn't see nothing, but as I was still moving through the darkness. So even though it was pitch black, I was still moving. And then this really posh man's voice, it boomed out, and it says, "The question is, will you listen to the spheres or the elements?" And then I woke up, and I wrote it down. It's one of these things that sometimes you'll hear something in a dream, and it feels very, very important, even though it makes no sense. And this is one of those. So it's saying, will you listen to the spheres or will you listen to the elements? The thing that's weird about that is, because I thought, the first thing I thought was, does that mean one of these is a positive and one's a negative? And I thought, well, maybe the spheres are like a representation of the quantum, with like these spinning atoms, positive and negative. So maybe reality is made of these spheres. So the spheres are like the source. They're like a representation of the source. The elements are a representation of the physical. So I thought, well, maybe the spheres are more positive than the elements. But then I thought, well, the ancient spiritual people, they like worshipped the elements, like fire, wind, water. Like those elements and air. What was it? Fire, water, wind. I think there's another one. But they worshipped them as if they were like the gods or something. So I was a bit confused about that. Yeah, because to me, the spheres and the elements would be the same sort of thing. So I wondered, why is that man asking which one would I listen to? But it's I liked that one. Yeah, it's one of those dreams that I woke up and I thought, I really liked that one, because it had a nice energy about it. And even though I couldn't see nothing, you could just feel the energy. And before that, I had that thing again where I'm lying in bed, and if I'm in a dream, and I become lucid, if I put my awareness, I suppose, into the top of my head, as if I'm looking up into the sky, it's really weird. But you can start to feel like you can feel yourself stretching, but you can also feel the speed. So it's almost like a G-force. And it's a little bit, it's a beautiful feeling, but it's a little bit too much. So I always end up coming back from that, because I can't quite handle the energy of that feeling. But I love it. So when I get it, I love it, and I'm like, oh, I love this feeling, but then I can't handle it. So I'm wondering, again, you could almost say, maybe that lady who's saying steady, maybe what you got to do is, when you're in that place with that feeling, because I know if you can stay with that feeling, I think you're gonna go into the astral planes with an awareness. So instead of being in the outer body as a regular dream or something, I think you're gonna go there with your awareness, because that I feel like that's the phase between waking or being a physical and being a spiritual. I feel like that energy is the transition phase. It's very powerful though. I've had it in meditations and stuff. What it feels like is, when you get butterflies in your belly, that feeling is really nice. But imagine that feeling of butterflies all over your body, and the feeling is exponentially getting stronger. So you've got that feeling of the butterflies, which feels lovely, but it's getting more and more powerful, and it gets to a point where you're like, this feels too lovely, I can't handle it. But along with that, you've also got this stretching feeling with the G-forces, which I love that. So that makes me feel like you are actually travelling somewhere. And it's also telling that when I come back from if I come back from a lucid dream, from a false awakening, if I want to wake myself from a false awakening, there's a pop, and it's another one, and then you wake up jolting. So again, it's almost like there's a movement going on between, I think it's the spiritual, your spirit body, and your physical body. It's almost like the moment of you separating and coming back into the physical body, it requires that feeling. Yeah, it's weird that. I love it, but I find it very interesting. So the next little topic is going to be nature, and I just think the power of nature is amazing. So on Sunday, I was working on my website. I'd been on it for 8 hours, and my eyes, when I stopped, my eyes were throbbing, and I thought, this isn't good. So in that moment, I decided I was going to have a week of not so much website stuff, and I think I did website on Tuesday, I think I did website on Tuesday. Monday, I went down Saltram in the forest, and then Wednesday I went there with my mum, and I'm going to go there again tomorrow, which is Friday, and Saturday. I'm going to have a week with nature, because being with nature, it's amazing. I was sat in this little field. You've got all that dry grass because it's so hot. So I was sitting there, all this dry grass like that, and what I've noticed is, if you sit still in nature for about 5 minutes maybe, all the birds will start to come around. I don't know whether they don't realise you're there, or whether what happens is, because you're sitting peacefully, they just start to trust you or something. But there was this little bird, quite a big bird, but a little bird. But it had a really long beak, and it was flapping, and it was hovering. I think it's one of those what are they called? Like lovebirds, is it? Hoverbirds. It was right in front of me, like hovering, but it was perfectly still. Its wings were flapping like crazy, but it was perfectly still. And I was looking at it thinking, I love this. And it flew off. There's little robins, so many different birds down there. It's just beautiful. But there's something about being with nature that's really energising. You're looking up at the sky, the colours of the sky, like some of them you think you couldn't make these colours up. And what I've noticed is, which is really weird, that nature seems to bring the best colours together. And there's something really weird happened the other day. I was lying in the sun at Saltram. The sun was up here, and I had my eyes shut, and I was looking at the sun. And when you're looking at the sun, if you've got your eyes shut, the sun somehow gets through your eyelids, but if you look at the sun and then you shut your eyes, you sort of still see the sun. But what was happening was, I was looking at this sun, and I noticed that the sun was creating like a flame shape in my eyelids. So in my closed vision, in the darkness of my eyes, I could see the sun as like a little. Well, it was weird. It was like a little blue flame with a red background. But this is weird. I don't know what this means. I don't know why it would do this. But when you've got your eyes shut, if you can still move your eyes left and right. So what I did was, for some reason, I moved my eyes to the left. And what happened was, the flame of the sun stayed in the centre of my vision. But as I moved to the left, the flame went, on one side, it went orange with a blue background. The one in the middle was a red with a green background. The other one was a yellow with a purple black background. And no matter how many times I moved left and right, it was staying consistently with those colours. And I was thinking, why is it doing that? But then the more I thought about this, the more I thought, this is weird, because those colours are the complementary colours on the colour wheel. So when you're doing painting, those colours are the ones they go well together. So I'm thinking to myself, why is it that the sun in my closed eyes is being represented as the three main sets of complementary colours? I don't know. I'm gonna look into that, because I would have thought the sun would have just been one colour. Also, why was the sun revealing itself as two colours? It's quite weird, that. It's just something I thought about. But there is a little thing I wanted to say, is because all this stuff with like the lockdown and not going outside and stuff, I've been wanting to talk about this for so long, but I've been a little bit scared because I don't want to offend people. But the thing is, the minute that this thing started and everyone went a bit crazy, I was so happy inside, because I knew that this was the moment we had been waiting for like the big change. So the thing is, like, change is really messy. With my transition from Kevin to Sophie, it's been about a 7-year process from when I first decided I was going to do it, and it got very hard at times with like suicidal thoughts and stuff. But the reward at the end is that a lot more at peace and in balance. Still got lots of anxiety, but I'm becoming myself. So going through that horrible period of just horribleness, there was moments in that I thought I couldn't carry on, but I look back now and I learned so much from it, and it's almost like the process of changing, it just requires a destruction of the old. So I feel like what the world is going through at the minute is this destruction phase, which I suspect is going to last years. Yeah, it's probably going to get a lot worse before it gets better. But I just know, something inside knows that this is. I feel like humans are in the most important phase of existence. So I feel like we are so lucky right now to be in this phase of transition. I just feel like everything that's gone before has led up to this moment, and I do wonder whether it's all repeating loops. So maybe the ancients, like the Mayans and the Egyptians, maybe they went through the same thing. And what I think sometimes is, were they going through this thing, like say the Egyptians, and they created the pyramids or something as a way to sort of leave behind the message hidden. But what I think happens is, when you get through that transition and pop the other side, I wonder whether the system, the universe, is just going to reset, because maybe the whole point of this existence is to find complete balance on like the earth. So the whole earth is going through a cycle of creating creatures who evolve, and the whole point is, can these creatures find balance between positive and negative energies? And I feel like it's the earth is just, it's like repeating this process over and over again. So I feel like we are right at the point of the transition bit, and I do think it could split off and create 2 timelines. You would have one timeline which would stay sort of negative, and I feel like that one would be properly reset with some sort of natural disaster. That would reset the process. The other one would split off into a positive place, and maybe what happens is, that one that goes off into the positive, it effectively becomes like a heaven on earth. The other one, it sort of becomes like a hell on earth with the destructions and stuff. But the thing is, we have a choice. I think we have a choice. That's the thing that's so powerful, is we have a choice of what we do, and it doesn't matter what anyone else does. We always have a choice. So like all this lockdown stuff, don't go outside, be scared of people. We have a choice about whether we want to do that, whether we believe that. And the thing is, if you really sit with death and really think about death, what happens is you start to realise that there's nothing to be afraid of. So you start thinking, well, yeah, what feels right? And what feels right to me is being outside with nature. Walking around the forests this week, everybody has been so nice. That's the thing, everybody's been so nice. Yeah, so, and I think to myself, we are all going to die anyway, so we might actually die tomorrow. So if you're going to die tomorrow, do you want to spend your last day locked up inside in fear, or would you rather spend that last day outside free? Yeah, being free with nature. Because you have a choice on that. So the thing is, you're going to die anyway, so why not have a nice life until the point when you die? Rather than, because if you're staying inside in the lockdown, you're basically in fear. Yeah, but if you're doing what you think feels right, and maybe to you staying inside does feel right, so I feel like that would be alright. But there's this part of you that knows if something's not right or not. So if you listen to that, yeah, But the thing is, when you get outside with nature, you just know that this feels right. There's something about it, especially when you're seeing all the birds and all the animals. There's a peacefulness out there, and it comes inside. It's quite weird that, the peacefulness of nature, it goes inside of you. So I feel like if you're stuck inside, especially in a fear mind, inside is going to be generating fear. So you're going to be evolving into a fear creature. That's quite weird. That's just something I noticed. So to me, I just feel like get outside with nature, feel the power of nature, and once you get a taste of it, you just it's the best taste in the world, nature. The final thing I was going to talk about, anxiety. This kind of goes into nature as well. So one of my anxieties is my hair, especially the top of my hair, especially this bit here. It bothers me. This little bit here. Like there's one there as well, which is why I got that thing on. But it's like, if I had a little bit more hair, I could just do something. Yeah, got a little bit right on the top of my head. But I did something this week which was amazing. So I was walking around Saltram taking photos. Normally what I would do is I would dress up in my dress. I'd have a wig on and stuff for posing for the photos. But what I would do is I would do it in secret. So as I moved to a new location, I would take my wig off, I would put some really boring clothes on and walk about like that. What I did was I said no. Again, I think it's like facing a fear. I said what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my wig on, keep the dress on, and I'm just going to walk around Saltram. And at first it felt quite scary. It felt very scary. Then I saw this fence. And I thought, I really want to take a photo there. I thought, I can't do that. There'd be too many people. I'll get embarrassed and stuff. This little robin, which is my spirit animal, this little robin flew onto the fence. At that precise moment, the synchronicity of robins is amazing. So I felt like that was a message of, yes, stand here and take some photos. I stood there, took some photos. People walked past and I just kept taking the photos, and the next thing I knew I was taking photos all along this little lane. I came home and thought about it, and then the next time I went out, which was the Wednesday with my mum, I went out and I actually took my headscarf off, because normally when I'm outside I've got a headscarf or a hat on to hide my hair, but I had a little dress on and I took my headscarf off and I walked around Saltram showing my bald patches and stuff. And the thing that was amazing was, it was very scary at first, but after about 20 minutes, I sort of, I got confidence. I started to get confidence, but I was still very anxious, and I kept playing with my hair like this. And I had a pair of sunglasses, which I kept pushing my hair to one side and putting the sunglasses on. I was like trying to control my hair, I suppose, but I did it. And then when I came home, I just thought, this is amazing now, because what I can do now is I can go to the Saltram, into the forest, I can wear my dress, put a pair of trainers on, I can actually do whatever I want now. Like, I can be myself outside, at least in nature. That's phase 1, I think. Phase 2 would be going into a city centre, or going into a place with lots of people. But it goes to like baby steps, little things first. Keep doing these little things. This again, to me, this is like a fear thing. It's like the mind is trying to scare me and say you can't walk around Saltram with showing your hair, because people will judge you and people think you look like a man. You got bald head and stuff. So it says lots of horrible things. But I just thought to myself, this goes into this week's inspirational quote. I thought, well, why don't I just try and see what happens? And I think being with my mum helped a lot, because my mum doesn't judge people, so I felt a bit safer with my mum. So the next phase is tomorrow. I'm going to do it again tomorrow on my own, because what I don't want to do is get to a situation where I feel I can only do it with my mum, because that wouldn't be good, I don't think. But I'm going to do it again, and I think the more I do it, the easier it'll get, and it'll get to the point where I won't even need my headscarf. And I think the next phase after that would be going into a busy city centre. The next phase after that would be going to work around people I know, because I love wearing headscarves and stuff. I like the way I look. I like the way the headscarves look. But I don't want to be in a situation where I can only go out if I'm wearing a headscarf, because that's a fear thing. And I think the more I do that, which is wear a headscarf or hide my hair, the more I'm going to give power to the fear, the thought in my head that says you've got bald patches and stuff. So I've just got to accept my hair the way it is, and I should be grateful for my hair, because I've got such long hair for me. If you saw me about 5 years ago, I was bald basically. That wasn't a fart, that was my foot on the table. But on the website I'm going to put all these little photos, and I think what happened was, looking at these photos of myself over the last few years, I've realised how much I've changed. Even though I didn't realise it, it's been such a gradual change, I didn't notice it until I looked at these photos. And I think I just thought to myself, what it was a few years ago I went out I had no wig on, I had facial hair, and I was wearing little dresses, and I was so confident in myself that I didn't care, and I proved to myself that I could do that. Somewhere along the line between then and now, I think it's when I started going to work, because I couldn't do that at work. I had to wear a headscarf or something, and then what happened was I started relying on the headscarf all the time, so I lost the ability to just go out without anything on my head. So I think looking at those photos, it's almost like the past me sort of inspired myself, because I thought, well, if I did it then, I can do it again. So I feel like wearing the headscarf, there's a time and a place. Yeah. It's just something I've been thinking about. But the thing with anxiety is, it feels so real. Anxiety to me is like it's almost like what I think reality is. So reality to me is a dream that feels so real, we think it's real. But really it's not, it's just a dream, which is why you can manipulate it. So if you start changing your thoughts, you can do little experiments where you change your thoughts, and then you'll notice that the environment changes. So you can prove to yourself that it's somewhere you and the universe, you and the reality are the same thing. So you can sort of prove that to yourself. But so that's kind of like a dream. So to me, reality feels like a dream. But I've lost what I was going with that one. It's obviously not that important, because if it was, I've got a little quote, I like this. If it's important, you'll remember. So, it is important. So, anxieties to me are negative thoughts which you become sort of obsessed with. And the thing is, it's weird. It's like somehow I know that these thoughts, like one of the anxieties might be, I've got an anxiety at the moment about people sitting in the back garden, because I like my window open, and I think, well, yeah, I've got a little anxiety there about sort of, I don't know what it is. I do know what it is. It's because I feel like I lose a bit of privacy if there's people in the garden. So there's an anxiety there of, what if people go in the garden today? But then I also know it doesn't matter, because even if there's people in the garden, so what? I can pull the blinds. There's a million things I can do, so it doesn't matter. And also it'll pass. The thing is, that thought, it becomes so powerful, and it feels so real. That's one example. There's so many of them. Like today, I was at work, and I got a little thing which I try to. Every day I say hello to somebody, and I've noticed if that little thing, all you got to do is say hello to somebody, if I fail to say hello to somebody at the start, that will just snowball into a bigger problem. Because what happens is I get upset with myself. I didn't say hello because of a fear. Because I thought normally it's if there's more people around. I get a bit embarrassed because I think what if I say hello and they don't answer me? I'm going to feel embarrassed because other people would have heard me say hello. It's weird. But then I know that doesn't matter, because all that matters is I said hello. That's more powerful to me. It's more powerful that I say hello and nobody says hello back. That's more powerful to me than not saying hello, just to sort of play it safe. So even that, I can see that it's a negative. It's weird. Everything is like, everything's kind of trying to trick you into being negative. It's so weird. Yeah, every thought, at least in my head, not all of them, the ones I'm aware of, a lot of them are trying to sabotage me. So what happens is, if that first little thought, if I don't act on it, which is to say hello, it's almost like the little thought, it is like you got like a little demon in your head and a little angel. And you've got complete free will about what you're doing. So you know that the angel says, say hello to somebody, because it will be positive. Then the demon is saying, don't you dare say hello. Somebody will laugh at you if they don't answer you. So what happens is, let's say you've got to say hello and you fail to say hello because there's somebody else there, so you get a little bit self-conscious. The minute you've not done that, the little demon starts laughing. It says, aha, I told you couldn't do it. So now next time you go to say hello, like 5 minutes later, there's two things that happens here. Either the little demon, it's now more powerful, and it's almost like you've now got less chance of saying hello because you didn't say hello before. But also, if you can just become aware at that moment when you didn't say hello, you can actually say hello. So that's even more powerful. So that's more powerful. If you don't say hello, you can become aware that you didn't say hello. And if in that moment you can say, right, I'm going to say hello now. So you then say hello, that's way more powerful, because what it means is the demon, it did stop you, but it shows that you're more powerful than the demon because you were still able to say hello. So then the little angel says, this is lovely. And it says, doesn't it feel good? And it does. So then what happens is, next time you say hello again. And to me, when they said about you've got a little demon and a little angel sat on your shoulder, all that is to me is it's negative and positive energies. Because if you think about it, I feel like humans, the greatest thing we've got is free will. Free will to me is what makes a human. Free will. If there's no free will, everything is just going to go probability based towards negatives and positives. But the free will, it means you could be at 99% negative, but your free will still allow you to get to 100% positive. But equally, you could be right about to become 100% positive, which I think is enlightenment and like transcending the system. You could be right at that point, but you've still got free will to go all the way back to negative. It's like that. That's what I think. And so I wonder whether animals have got free will, or whether animals are just going purely based off of probabilities. Because I feel like reality is a numbers game. It's like there's a probability that I'm going to do a podcast this week, and the more times I do it, the more probability there is I'm going to do it. But there's always I've still got free will about whether I do a podcast. That seemed a bit weird, but what I've noticed is every single decision is coming off of that. It's almost like our thoughts are fractals. So nature is made of fractals, which are these little, it's like a little shape, and that little shape becomes the same shape but bigger. and then that shape becomes a bigger shape. So all you need is one little shape, and that little shape can become anything, because you just keep rearranging these little fractals. So it's like a pattern. But I feel like thoughts are doing the same thing. You've got a little thought, and that little thought, it fractals out. So you can end up with a little tiny negative thought. It will fractal out, which is a negative based upon a negative based upon a negative, into a bigger negative. But really, that bigger negative, all it is one little one. And it goes the same the other way with the positives. So I feel like humans, and this goes back into dreams, I think dreams are us bouncing around between different realities, which are all as real as this one, but they're in different states of positive and negative probabilities. That's what I think. So again, I think the reason we are conscious is because I think we are each in our own little universe, and the conscious version of us is the version that is, I think, is going to become 100% positive. So I think it is destiny that every single human becomes 100% positive in the end, because I feel like the source is 100% positive. Or maybe it's a 0. Yeah, maybe it's a 0, which is like the balance of negative and positive. But I feel like whatever it is, I think each human, based off of free will, is going to end up at this balance, at the balance point, which is going to be, it means it's no longer affected by the positive and negative, because the positive can do what it wants, the human will stay in the centre, the negative can do what it wants, the human stays in the centre. So at that point, you think about it, you've got extreme power, because you've now got the ability of 100% positive and 100% negative, because negative isn't necessarily negative. You can use negative for positive things, but you can also use positive things for negative things. So I feel like that's what the power of a human is. You've got this massive power of positive and negative, and you're in control of it. You don't realise though, because we're inside of an Earth simulator, which is slowing down time. Because what it is the time. It means you've got complete control of this power, but the time slows it down so that you can't instantly use the power. Yeah, so that means that you've got more probability of being influenced by the powers, because let's say you got a positive and you say let's say you got a negative and you say I'm going to destroy a house. There's a period between you deciding to destroy the house and actually destroying the house, where the positive little angel voice could come in and say, no, don't do this. And you'd be able to feel that it's the wrong thing to do. So you would still have free will about doing that. But once you've got, I think, complete balance of these two energies, which is negative and positive, you're in the astral plane, which is the outer body in the dream place, which in that place thoughts are instant. So if you think something, it's instant. So if you was in that place and you thought, I'm going to destroy the house is destroyed instantly. So that's why I think we're here. We're here to learn how to balance positive and negative, so that when we get to the proper place, like the source reality, we don't go recklessly destroying things. That's what I think is. I like it. I think it's cool. But I feel like dreams, nature, and anxiety, which is like a form of thoughts, I feel like all this stuff sort of goes together, because the dreams and the thoughts are very similar in that they're not real, but they are real. They're not real, but they are real, which is weird. And then I feel like nature is an extreme form of positive, but inside of nature, which is positive, you've got massive negative as well, like tidal waves, winds, lightning strikes which destroy things. So even the positive of nature has the power of destruction. So I feel like nature is the balance point. Yeah, nature is the balance of negative and positive. And humans, I feel like we've been created by nature, which is the earth, to become like a new earth, basically. So what happens is each little human, each little creature will in the end evolve into a new earth, which you would then be a new earth, creating your own little creatures. Oh, I love that. That'd be beautiful. So what it means is the little earth. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Oh, that's made me cry. The little earth. Our little earth is effectively the creator. Yeah. Oh, how cool is that? The little earth. Our little earth is the creator. So our creator is with us all the time because we are on earth. Wow. I love that. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, so our earth, we are standing on our creator with the goal of evolving into a new earth so that we can become a new little earth. So you'll end up with a universe full of little earths, creating little creatures which will become new earths. Ah, how cool is that? It's a never-ending process of creation, which is probably why creating drawings and paintings is such a powerful feeling, because it's like you're tapping into the source, the God, the universe. Because if you think about it, Earth is the ultimate form of creation. Oh, I love that. That's basically this week's little podcast. I really hope you enjoyed that. I had no idea what I was going to talk about today, but lilDENNIS, I love lilDENNIS. He's the best for me. lilDENNIS. Here's a little secret. This week I bought the domain name www.lilDENNIS.com. So lilDENNIS has now got his own little website, and at the moment there's only tiny little coloured pencil drawings on it. But in the end, I'm going to create really nice little Dennis characters, and he's going to come to life because he's cool. So, lilDENNIS, he's finished this one. I think he's going to stay with us for the ending. So this week's little inspirational quote. Oh, you can find show notes and everything at sophielawson.com, and you can find videos at youtube.com/sophielawson. This week I put out a little video. It's going to be it's the first of a new little series, which I'm going to try to create little characters, which is something I'm still in the very early stages of. But I thought the best way to get good at it is to practice doing it, and I thought the best way to practice doing it is to make it a regular video, because that will keep me focused to do it. So each month I'm going to do a little character, create a new little character, and then for the little draw day challenge, which is a little 365-day drawing challenge every day for a year, each day for that month I'm going to keep drawing a little character. So, because I think if you keep drawing the character, you'll get better at drawing that character. And I've got to try and draw the character in different poses, different angles, because it's very hard for me to draw a character in different angles. I'd lose the consistency. So what I'm going to do is each month I'm going to create a little character on the video in its early form, and then each day for that month I'm going to keep drawing it. And I think at the end of the month I'll compare it with the one I started with, and I imagine it will evolve into a much better looking character. And then I'm going to, I did that with lilDENNIS, but I'm going to do it again with lilDENNIS on the computer, and he'll become like a little digital character. But that's basically that. So this week's inspirational quote, I've got no idea who this goes to, but it's one of these powerful quotes that I remember right from the start of this little journey thing. So in 2013, I think it was 2013, I was suffering really badly with OCD, and it was making me do crazy things. Again, the thoughts were so stupid, but yet they seemed so real that I believed them. So it would make me do things like, if I was walking down a street, I was only allowed to walk a certain way around lampposts. So sometimes, let's say the road was barricaded, and the thought would say you're only allowed to walk on the left-hand side of this lamppost. It would make me do stupid things like go all around the houses just so that I could walk around the left-hand side. So what it was the thought in my head was saying, if you don't do this, something bad will happen. And it was making me do weird things as well. Like I'd be sitting watching TV, and I would have to start counting on my hand. So the first finger would be 1, it'd be 2, 3, 4, 5, but then you would have to, I can't even remember now, it would make me do things like, I'd have to count backwards from 20 on one hand really quickly. So if I messed it up, I had to go all the way back to the beginning, and it was like, if you don't do this, something bad will happen. So sometimes I'd be there for minutes doing this stupid counting these numbers, and I had to keep doing it until I got it right. So what happened was, one day I was watching a programme on Channel 4 about OCD, and there's this bloke on there, and this lady was saying she was only allowed to eat, I think it was blue Skittles. So if she had a packet of Skittles, she was only able to eat the blue ones. And she said, I know this is stupid, but I can't stop doing it because something says if you don't do this, something bad will happen. And I could relate to that because I thought, yeah, she knows it's stupid as well, but the power of that stupid thought, the negative thought, is so strong. You believe it, you can't sort of change it. The bloke, I think he was like some sort of therapist or something. What he did was he said to her, she said, I can only eat the blue ones because something bad might happen. He interrupted and said, something bad might happen, but it might not. So that's this week's little inspirational quote. It's something bad might happen, but it might not. That was the start of me starting to question the thoughts in my head, because before that, whatever thought was in my head, I just believed it to be real. And this bloke, what he did was he made me realise that I didn't have to just believe the thought. I could question it. Yeah, and it was like a little experiment. So this girl on the TV, she started, every time it said something bad might happen, she started saying, but it might not. So she started eating these Skittles or something. And then what happened was she started to realise that she could eat the other Skittles. So I thought, I'm going to try this. So if I was walking down the street and the thought said, you're only allowed to walk on the left-hand side, I would say, it says something bad might happen. I said, yeah, but it might not. It's almost like that little demon is saying, something bad will happen. It's trying to control you. It's a very physical representation of the control that the negative thoughts it has on you. And it's almost like I turned to the little demon and I said, no, I'm going to try and see what happens. So what I did was I walked on the right hand side. Nothing bad happened. And then you started realising I don't have to believe these thoughts anymore. So then I slowly, over a few months, I just dismantled all of my little OCD things, and I only kept the good ones. So the things like arranging things on your desk in a nice neat order, to me that's kind of like a positive OCD thing, because that's a positive thing. So again, it's like negative and positive. Not all negative things are negative, but you've got to sort of analyse your thoughts to see which ones are. Yeah, you basically, what you do is you ask yourself, is this actually a positive thing? And what you do is you just keep the ones that you think are positive. So some of the OCD is actually quite good. Yeah, but that was the start of it. That's the start of me questioning these little thoughts. That was one of the most powerful things I've ever heard, really. And again, it was just a little thing. All it was it was just answering back to the thought and saying, you're not being horrible to it. Yeah, you're not being horrible to the thought. You're just saying, look, you might be right, but I'm going to do an experiment to see if there's another way. And then what happens is the proof comes. You start seeing that there is. You're basically, again, this is free will. This is the ultimate example of free will. You have the free will about whether you walk on the left or the right of that lamppost. Yeah. So OCD to me is like I would say OCD is maybe some sort of extreme anxiety which has manifested as a physical sort of like habit thing. And most of the time, OCD people, they know that what they're doing is stupid, but they can't help it because the thoughts have got. Because what happens is these little thoughts, they turn into habits, and then habits are really hard to break. So, yeah, it's quite cool, isn't it? That's basically it, really. So this week's little inspirational quote: something bad might happen, but it might not. And that's from some bloke from the Telly. Did. Look at that, brown lips.